Hello Strategists, this is Dani again. I've come to bring another one of my decks for Magic. It is my Galadriel of LOTR. So typically with these decks you do the 3-color Galadriel, but I am not. I'm just still relatively new. Don't want to take on a 3-color deck. So this one is the one I've gone with. I actually started out with the other one and swapped over to this one because I like her ability. I decided to switch over to a Scry deck. So, and with a couple extra features in it, +1/+1 deck for my elves. Now, for this one, with the other one, Galadriel, this was very important, but this one is not so much. But there are other cards in my deck that require it, so I had to get the ring. I'm going to start with my Planeswalkers. I have 3 in this deck. So, Nissa here, +1/+1 counters. And then it also has a life, according to the lands you control. This deck does produce a lot of land if it's working properly. Here's the other Nissa with the Scry. Top card of your library is land. And basically, it's putting more cards on the battlefield, creating more counters, scrying. And then this one's creating more creatures and drawing. He's Thermal Archer. This Reach, Death Touch, Llanowar Elves is really pretty important to this deck because it requires just a lot of mana to run through these. Haldir is +1/+1 counters and Vigilance. Reclamation Sage. This one's works also as a sorcery type because when it enters, I can destroy target artifact or enchantment. So defense. Scrying with +1/+1s. Enchantment Elves can create an interesting loop if you have the right cards. Evolution Sage. Land enters the battlefield, you proliferate. And so more counters. Just making everybody bigger. Elvish Archdruid. +1/+1 counters. Plus mana. And Rishkar. There's put a +1/+1 counter on 2 creatures. And then add more mana. Paradise Druid is nice to have early on because I use her for land pretty easily, and especially when you're trying to get going and don't have as much in the way of land, or if you're a little short on land when you pulled, or if they have come in tapped, because I do have a lot of dual lands that require coming in tapped, and I'm trying to swap those out. Add mana, +1/+1 counters, add more mana. Azurai regenerates another target elf. I have used him quite a bit, actually. He can be quite annoying for some people. Whenever you attack with one or more elves, scry 1. So this is Scry, +1/+1s. The Celeborn, Beast Whisperer is draw spells. Certain the Shipwright. Vigilance. This one is Votes, the Secret Council, which I do have a couple of those in this deck. Whenever it enters, each player secretly votes for a player, then those votes are revealed. Each player draws a card for each vote they receive. Each player who receives no votes may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. So it's kind of a win-win card for everybody. A little less salty. Galadriel Brigade. It has Squad. So, as an additional cost, cast a spell, pay 1 any number of times. When this creature enters the battlefield, create that many tokens that are copies of it. Plus all my other elves get +1/+1. Priest of Titiana is big mana base. And then other elves you control get +1/+1. Plus create green elf warrior creature tokens, which help with mana base and +1/+1 counters. Legolas is part of the scry portion of this. Whenever I scry, he gets, I may untap him. And then every time an opponent controls, a creature an opponent controls dies, gets a +1/+1 counter on Legolas himself. So he can get real big and real beefy real fast. Especially late game. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, is a scry card. And then the ring tempts you if it's the second time. So this is one of the cards you need the ring for. And then Hatiova, Benthic Druid. It's a landfall card, so with all of this mana coming in and moving around, she's nice to have. And then this is the card I originally started this deck with, which is the Will of the Council, and it has the ring tempting you, and you can create a ring bearer that with a +1/+1 counter. So, and it also has draw potential. But as a commander, she was kind of, I don't want to say that she was pointless, but she just didn't create any kind of win con. She was just kind of there. And I was having a really hard time getting her to work with the deck I was trying to build. 20-toed Toad. And this is another one. You can make him beefy, plus he increases my hand size. If I've got blue in my deck, I try to have a Toad. He just helps. And he creates an alternate win con. And, you know, he's just a nice option to have. And Pelt Collector. This is another one that you create the beefiness with it, with the +1/+1 counters. And he also gets trample if you get over +3/+3. And a Restore of the Council, because there are a couple of cards that require voting. Elrond, those, it does help for those. And creating treasure tokens, more mana. Wellborn Preserver is nice for another one that you can beef up with +1/+1 counters, plus it has Flash and Reach. So it's a nice early game card to have for this particular deck. Elrond, Master of Healing. This is Scry +1/+1. And then this one is a +1/+1 all other elves, so if you have another card that's created more elves like tokens, it can go on there. Because these are pretty much all elves. I think I have only one other card that isn't an elf, and that's the Mermaid. Elrond on White Council. This is another Secret Council card, so this is another voting one. And then Marwyn. And this one is a mana producer plus the ability to get beefy. So that's basically the win con, is just building up your elves and pummeling them if you can. And overwhelming the field with elves. We have artifacts and enchantments. Mirror of Galadriel. She's important to this deck. Well, it's just a mirror. But it creates the scry ability. And just scrying and being able to get to more elves, more mana. Simic Locket. Just creating more land. Diamond Mare. I have this one. I'm told to take it out of the deck, but for the time being, it's good to have here. It helps me regain some life. And a Boreal Alliance is creating green treefolk creatures. And then when I attack with one or more elves, I populate. So it's creating more elves, creating more tokens. This one's +1/+1, and for all my elves, and mana. This dual land glacier wood. No, it's not. Sorry. It requires dual colors. That's my bad. Glacierwood Siege, enchantment, and it gives you the chance to mill 4 cards, play lands from your graveyard. Standard Soul Ring. Simic Ascendancy. Now, I have actually won with Simic Ascendancy here as a alternate win con. So, alright. This 20 or more growth counters on it win the game. This is one of the +1/+1 endgame things that you can do, and it's cheap to play. Sword of Hours. Put a +1, more +1/+1 counters, and the D12 thing, which I have done. It's kind of fun. And then adding more +1s. Utopia Sprawl. So choose a color. Whenever Enchanted Forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of the chosen color. So, mana production. Wayfarer's Bauble. And that's Finding Land. Tarian Soul Cleaver. Vigilance. And then +1/+1 counters. Lost Diamond is for Mana Source. Sky Diamond. Add blue. Mind Stone. Add colorless. Or you can sacrifice it and draw a card. Arcane Signet. Add mana of any color in your commander's color identity. So, pretty typical artifacts, but there is a win con among them. Next, Instants and Sorceries. We got Versus Cultivate, Finding Land, Elven Farsight, this is Scry, and Draw, Spell Blast, counter, cancel, counter. Rally the Galadriel, create a token that's a copy of the target creature you control, and so if I need to create more scrying, more +1/+1s, like Legolas, I can create 2 of them. Born Upon a Wind, and this is draw a card, play as if cards have flash, destroy target artifact or enchantment. For Wilt, Miss of Lorien is Replicate, and return target non-land permanent and each other non-land permanent with the same mana value as their permanent to their owner's hands. Now, just to try to clear the board. So, consult the star charts, and this one is kind of a scry, but it's look at the top X cards of your library, and it's how many lands I control. So since this is a mana producer, this can come in handy here. I've recently added this, so I haven't gotten to play test it yet. In here, it's in my Tasha deck, so I do know it works, but I just haven't used it yet in this deck. River's Rebuke, I actually just added this back in because since I had a mana problem, I have since solved it, so this being a little pricier doesn't matter as much, and it's just to clear the board. Ponder is like a scry, and shuffle the deck, draw a card. Mana Drain is a counter. Decisive Denial is targeting creature or non-creature spells. Inspiring Call, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter. So it's you can really get down there on your deck. It's good early so you don't run out of cards. Growth Spiral, draw a card, and then if you get a land, you can put it on the battlefield. Dramatic Reversal, untap all non-land permanents you control, and Dissolve is counter target spell and scry 1. So it's all on theme of, and is a little bit more ordered and set than Tasha is. I'm still working on her, getting her up to a possible win con. I'm still working on that. I've won with her, but I'm not sure how. I've won with her a lot. But Galadriel I'm starting to do better with. So I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 forests. And 6 islands as my basic lands. So a little higher, 2 on the basics. And then we have our special lands, Path of Ancestry, enters battlefield tapped, 2017 promo, Memorial to Genius, Demolition Field, Evolving Wilds, Command Tower, 3 Tree City, which is really helpful in an all-elf deck. Simic Guildgate, one that enters tapped, another one that enters tapped, another one that enters tapped, but you can scry one, tapped. This one, no tap, but you need a +1 to, but you get 2 for it. This one doesn't come in tapped. And then tapped, tapped. You can surveil though. Tapped. Deals 1 damage to target opponent. Unless I control 2 or tapped unless I control 2 or more other lands. So it's you got later, it helps. Official Village, unless you control an island or a swamp, that's why it's in here. It's just that I do have islands. This one's if I'm in trouble. 2 or fewer lands, this one's good early on. And enters battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. But it does give you 2. So that is my Galadriel deck. She does have some pretty interesting win cons and can overwhelm a field pretty quick. It's not quite as fast as a straight mono green elf deck, but it is still pretty powerful in its own right. Even though the deck is classified as a tier 1 deck. So, while Tasha is a tier 3. But it also, Galadriel doesn't have a lot in the way of game changers. So that is why she's classified as so low. And I actually have to look into and see if there's any game changers that I can add, want to add, that works with her. Now, with the upcoming Hobbit decks, there might be some more that I can add that will make it more of a higher tier, but no way to know until we see the cards. So until then, thanks for watching, Strategists, and I will see you next time.